Aloha, I'm Lahaina Lee, and welcome to the Maui Real Estate Advisor Market Report. In this March edition, we're looking back at what happened in February. And yeah, I know what some of you are thinking. Lee, February already feels like old news. What took you so long? All right, fair question. First, we had a couple of timely blogs and podcasts to get out on Maui property tax assessments. If you opened your assessment notice and thought the assessor might have been sampling the Maui Wowie, well, you might want to check these out. Second, we got hit by 2 Kona Low weather events. That was, from a wind standpoint, absolutely hurricane-like. But the monsoon rain, mudslides, and flooding were even more damaging and disruptive. After more than 2 decades on the island, they were as serious as any storms that I've been through. So yeah, that slowed us down a bit. But with the new month right around the corner, let's do the numbers. First, let's look at condos. The condo market staged a much-needed rebound in February, posting 64 closed sales after a very weak 44 sales in January. That made February the second strongest condo sales month of the past year, which is a welcome change from the sluggish pace we've been seeing. Inventory did come down slightly, but only slightly. We've now been sitting at more than 900 condos for sale for 3 straight months, and that still leaves Maui in a very strong buyer's market with roughly 14 months of condo inventory. Now here's what makes February more encouraging. It wasn't just closed sales that improved. Pending sales rose to 118, the highest level in the past 12 months. That's important because pendings tend to give us a preview of what closed sales may look like in the next month or two. So at least for now, this increase in sales doesn't look like a 1-month fluke. Pricing also moved in a better direction. The median condo sales price jumped to $847,500. That's up more than $200,000 from January and the highest median selling price we've seen since last February. The average sales price also climbed to just over $1.15 million. And here's an interesting stat. For the first time in quite a while, the median sold price actually came in slightly above the median asking price, which was about $839,000. That doesn't mean that sellers suddenly have the upper hand, but it does suggest that well-positioned properties are still finding buyers when price and property line up. That said, let's not overstate the comeback. Condo inventory remains very high. Days on market for active condo listings continue to rise, and buyers still have a lot of choices. So yes, February was better, but it was better inside a market that still heavily favors buyers. Turning to homes, the home market was a little more puzzling. Closed home sales fell from 52 in January to 46 in February, making this one of the weaker sales months I've seen in years. This is a curious result, especially because we're in the part of the year when people often expect stronger activity, particularly in the higher price ranges. Inventory barely moved, slipping from 456 homes for sale down to 448. That means supply has been relatively stable for 4 months, and it still leaves Maui as a buyer's market for homes with just under 10 months of inventory. But here's where it gets interesting. Even though closed sales were soft, pending sales rose again to 134. That's the 3rd straight monthly increase. That tells us buyer activity is there. The question is, what kind of buyer activity is it? At first glance, someone might assume that the winter season brought a luxury surge, but the price data doesn't really support that. The median home sale price dropped to $1.25 million, down nearly $200,000 from January, and back below the roughly $1.3 million level that characterized much of 2025. Even more telling is the average sale price dropped to just over $1.36 million. If luxury homes were driving the market in a meaningful way, that average would likely be much higher, more in line with the nearly $2 million averages that we saw in December and January. My read is this: the rise in pending suggests improving activity, but not necessarily a major luxury push. It may be more in line with what's happening in the core market rather than at the high end. Meanwhile, the average and median asking prices for active homes both increased, which creates an interesting setup. Sellers are generally holding firm or aiming higher, while the actual closed sales data still shows a market that remains price sensitive. That makes next month's report especially worth watching, because we'll get to see whether this rise in pending sales translates into stronger closings, and if so, at what price levels. Here's my take. There is still a lot of inventory on Maui right now across both condos and homes. Buyers have choices, and that tends to slow decision making. It also means that sellers need to be realistic, because even when activity improves, it doesn't automatically turn into a seller's market. The condo market showed real signs of life in February, and the jump in pendings makes that improvement more believable. Homes are a little murkier. Buyer activity appears to be improving, but the closed sale pricing suggests that strength is not coming from a broad luxury surge. So the overall message is this: the market is showing some better energy, especially in condos, but it's still a market where buyers have leverage and patience matters. And if you're one of those people who has always dreamed of owning a place on Maui, especially if you live here already, this may be one of the best windows I've seen in quite some time, maybe ever. One of the best windows to find options and take your time and make a smart move. Thanks for tuning in. If you have questions or comments, drop them below or shoot an email to lee@alohapots.com. I answer every one. And if you liked this episode, give us a like and maybe send it on to someone you know who's thinking about Maui. And if you haven't already, subscribe and make sure you don't miss anything. Oh, and if you or someone you know is thinking about buying, selling, or just keeping track of Maui real estate, we've got a fabulous team of seasoned, well-trained agents standing by to help you out. That's all for now. So, from the greatest island on earth, this is Lahaina Lee saying, aloha! Tony Brown produced this podcast. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not intended as a recommendation to invest in real estate or any other financial asset. We are not financial planners, certified public accountants, or attorneys. You should consult with a qualified professional before making any financial, legal, or investment decisions. All investments carry risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results.